Introduction. Hi, my name is Trevor, and in this video, I'm going to transform a block of wood into a NASCAR-inspired Pinewood Derby car. Along the way, I'm going to show the process and share my thoughts during my first ever Pinewood Derby car build. I definitely made some rookie mistakes that you will want to avoid in your build, so stay tuned for those. I started this build just 2 weeks before the event. Design. So let's talk about design. Most Pinewood Derby cars look like blocks of wood with wheels attached. I wanted to make a car that looked like a car. Specifically, my favorite race car, the 1998 Mark Martin No. 6 Valvoline NASCAR. This car has such a great design with the red, white, and blue, and the little Valvoline V's that are splattered like mud coming off the front wheels. 1998 was one of the best years in Mark Martin's career, with 7 wins that season. There's no other car I would want to build more than this one. Let's take a look at what I've got to start with. This is a basic Pinewood Derby car kit from Maximum Velocity. It comes with the block of pine wood, 4 wheels, 4 axles, and that's it. The length of the wood block is 7 inches long by 1.75 inches wide by 1.25 inches in height. The wood block has pre-cut slots for the axles. The distance between the axles, or the wheelbase, is slightly less than 4.5 inches. This is pretty close to a 1/24th scale model car. In fact, I'm using this 1/24th die-cast model car as a reference. Pinewood Derby cars are more like 1/28th scale. In order to make my car look like a car, I have 2 options. 1, I can buy a different body from Maximum Velocity. They sell a kit that is already shaped like a NASCAR, which is pretty cool. But since I already have the basic car kit, I'm going with the second option. I want to see if I can make my own. Rules. Since this is my first time entering a Pinewood Derby competition, I wanted to get familiar with the rules. I searched online but couldn't find an official organization for Pinewood Derby cars. I was hoping to find something equivalent to the National Association of Rocketry, which sets the safety code for model rockets. There doesn't seem to be a similar association for Pinewood cars. The hobby is strongly tied to Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, church camps, and youth groups. Well, I was never in any of those organizations, which is why I was 38 when I built my first Pinewood Derby car. I was invited to attend this event with my girlfriend's family. Here's what I found regarding rules. Generally, there are at least 2 classes, a stock or classic class, and an open class, sometimes called unlimited or outlaw, depending on the event. The event organizers can have more classes, but it basically comes down to stock or modified. Modified cars are anything outside of the stock class. No restrictions on weight, size, or customizations. Stock cars have a maximum weight of 5 ounces, or 141.7 grams. The finished car can be 7 inches long, 2.75 inches wide, and up to 3 inches in height for this competition. The Maximum Velocity kit starts at 4.5 ounces, or 127.5 grams, so there's not a lot of room for modifications. I challenged myself to build a custom car that could still run in the stock class. 13 days to race day. In order to make this block of wood look like a car, I wanted the wheels to be inboard of the body instead of sticking out from it. To do this, I would need to add some extra width and height to the car while not going over the weight limit. I found some block-shaped pieces of balsa wood at the hobby store. Balsa wood is about 50% lighter than pine. I went online and found a line drawing of a NASCAR and opened it in Photoshop. I modified the position of the wheel arches to be spaced 4.5 inches apart, matching the cutouts on the wooden block. Then I started tracing the body shape onto the wood. The plastic wheels have a diameter of 30 millimeters. Using a hole saw on the drill press, I cut out the wheel arch openings slightly larger than the size of the wheels. I did this before attaching the side pieces to the car's body. With the wheel arches cut, I'm ready to glue the pieces to the body. Using sandpaper, I roughed up both sides a little bit so the glue has something to hold to. If I glued two perfectly smooth pieces together, the bond would not be very strong. I attached the wheel extensions to the body using wood glue and left them clamped for 24 hours. "12 days to race day." It's the next day and the wheel extensions are fully dried. To attach the roof to the car body, I wanted some extra strength. I made these dowels out of bamboo skewers that I found in the kitchen. Using a pencil, I transferred the position of the dowels onto the body of the car, so I knew where to drill the holes. Some extra clearance was needed to make everything sit flush. Just like the side panels, I roughed up the surfaces before gluing the top piece to the body. While the glue dried, I figured I would get started on the wheels. I started by carefully painting the wheel spokes with some red paint and a fine brush. "11 days to race day." I'm going to start by weighing the car. It's at 5.5 ounces with no wheels and no shaping done. I need to remove half an ounce of weight, keeping in mind I still need to add paint, wheels, and decals. If the car is too heavy, I plan to remove some material from the underside of the car. The best way to cut the body shape would be a bandsaw, which I don't have. So I'm going to try getting the rough shape with some hand chisels and a Dremel rotary tool with a small sanding drum. I'm trying to follow the roof line that I traced onto the body from the paper template. With the rough shape done, I switched to sandpaper to refine the shape further. Here you can see the body lines for the slope of the hood and the trunk. Time to get shaping. Again, I'm not a professional woodworker here. I'm figuring out each step as I go using the tools I already have on hand. 9 days to race day. I've got the rough shape of the body. Now I'm going to try shaping the wood to match the contours of the car. It's getting there. 7 days to race day. Next, I want to shape the windows of the cabin to taper inboard a little bit, like on the die-cast model. The thing about sanding is that you can remove material, but you can't put it back on. Okay, I've got the contours of the wood to match the model. And yeah, I think I'm satisfied with that. As you can see, 1/28 scale is slightly smaller than the 1/24 scale die-cast model car. I've made a small spoiler for the car. Using the Dremel tool, I cut a slot in the rear of the car body, which will allow me to attach the spoiler with some glue. Well, the tab on my balsa wood spoiler snapped while I was test fitting it. I was thinking I could make another spoiler out of a popsicle stick, which would be stronger. But then there's nothing to fit into the slot I just cut in the body. Let's try making another spoiler out of this scrap piece of fiberboard. If this process looks tedious, it is. But I enjoy the process of figuring out each little challenge. The fiberboard spoiler is cut to match the contour of the slot in the rear. And it looks like that's a good fit. "6 days to race day." I'm not quite as far along as I hoped I would be with this project. I wanted to have it painted by now. Yesterday I worked on the spoiler, which was more of a challenge than I anticipated. The fiberboard one feels really good and strong. The car is in the paint booth. I've folded up some cardboard in the axle slots to protect them. This is filler primer, which should help even out the wood and give the car a smoother look. I gave it multiple light coats, waiting about 15 minutes between coats. The car is primed, and I'm going to sand before painting. I'm working my way up from 200 to 400 grit, trying to get a nice smooth finish. I wiped it down with a tack cloth to remove any large dust particles. With the sanding completed, I have the rear of the car masked off, and I'm going to give the front end a coat of gloss white paint. I really wanted to make sure I chose the right color of blue. My local hobby store carries a big selection of Tamiya brand paints. I went to the Tamiya website and found 13 different blue colors. I made a spreadsheet of each one. I saved the sample color image for each one from the website, then imported them into Photoshop. I made a contact sheet which has a tiny square of each color. Using the eyedropper tool, I identified the RGB values of each blue and compared it to the Valvoline dark blue. Valvoline dark blue has RGB values of 15, 32, and 108. The Tamiya deep metallic blue TS53 was very close at 17, 36, 105. Almost spot on. This was the color I used for the rest of the car body. I bought a small can of it at the hobby store. I let it cure in the sunlight in between coats. I was excited to remove the painter's tape and see how my paint job turned out. Okay. With the wheels mocked up, it weighs 5.0 ounces. I do still have to add the clear coat and the decals. Using a piece of painter's tape as a mask, I painted some windows onto the body using light gray paint. After it dries, I'm going to do a second coat. I pulled the tape off while the paint was still wet, so I have some touch-up to do. I sprayed a little bit of the blue paint into a cupcake wrapper, and I'm using a detail brush to clean it up, keeping in mind that this will be covered with decals later. It helps that I'm covering a light color with a very dark color. I printed a paper template and transferred that to painter's tape, which I will use to do the windshield and back window. I cut out a couple of the decals to ensure the placement was right before I started painting. For the decals, I ordered a set of them on eBay. They were from one of those plastic model kits, and they're sized for a 1/24th scale car. They're water slide decals, and they release from the backing sheet when they get wet. They're kind of a pain, and they're very easy to tear. Let's get started with the decals. I begin by submerging it in water, and wait for it to slide off the backing. After waiting some time, the decal wasn't releasing. This time, I read the instructions that said to use warm water and tried again. Transferring the decal to the car without tearing it is a delicate operation. Just all of these left to go. 4 days to race day. Quick check-in. Some of the decals are applied, and it's starting to look like a NASCAR. Water slide decals are a pain to apply when they're new, and these ones are old and fragile. I did tear the corner of the E here on the Valvoline logo. Once all of the decals are applied, I'm going to apply some clear coat for an extra layer of protection. Then I need to get it aligned, put some graphite on the axles, and we should be ready to race. This one wants to curl up on me. I'm going to dab a tiny bit of water on here so that when I place the decal, I can slide it a tiny bit for some fine adjustment. And I've already torn it. This flat metal ruler worked great at separating the decal from the backing. I use a paper towel to dab away the excess water, being careful not to tear the decal. Oh, I just lost part of a V. Okay, so at this point the car is basically done as far as the body and the decals go. We've got everything applied, which was a very painstaking process. Not all of them went on perfectly, which is to be expected since the body is hand-formed and not perfectly symmetrical. But overall, I think it's pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is pop the wheels off and get it back into the paint booth for the final time for the clear coat, and then we should be ready to get the wheels aligned. As if this project hasn't had enough difficulties already, I just sprayed the first coat of clear coat, and it's starting to crinkle the water slide decals. Great. The bodywork on the car is done at this point. All of the decals are applied, and I've done 3 coats of clear coat. The car is about 5 grams overweight, or about 1 US nickel. I'm back using the hand chisel to remove some more material from the underside of the car to try and hit that weight limit of 141.7 grams, or 5.0 ounces maximum. Fortunately, pine is a fairly soft wood and cuts easily with the hand chisel. We are right there. I just started hogging out as much material as I could from the underside. And I finally got the completed car to weigh in at 4.9 ounces. Perfect! One day to race day. All of the work that I've done on this car so far won't matter much if it doesn't roll straight. A car that's a rail hugger is a strategy that others have used, but that's not my strategy. I want it to roll as straight as possible. I've made this simple ramp by lifting one end of the coffee table and putting down some painter's tape to check the alignment of the car. This is not my idea, this is something I learned from watching others on YouTube. We could do a third test, but I think 2 is pretty conclusive. This car pulls to the right. After spending a lot of time on YouTube and fiddling with the axles, I think I've finally got it. Only 3 wheels are actually making contact, and the 2 rear wheels are cambered at a slight angle. Let's see how it does. Excellent. Race day. After working on the car for about 2 weeks, it is done. This is the finished product. It weighs in at exactly 4.9 ounces, and I'm pretty happy with it overall. I had some trouble with those darn decals, and I'm just gonna have to live with it. The clear coat messed up the word Valvoline below this logo. I just wanted to have fun and build a cool-looking car that I was proud of. Here is a look at the track. These are some of the other cars in the competition. Mine passed the weigh-in, and I get to run in the stock class. Results. All of the cars in the competition were placed on a bracket. In the first round, my car took the win. However, on the second race, I lost and was eliminated from the rest of the bracket. I have to admit, I was pretty disappointed. I really thought the car would do better, but the simple cars with better weight distribution ran faster than mine. After all of the cars had raced and the winner was announced, I was able to get in some more practice runs. They look pretty cool using the high-speed mode on the iPhone. Lessons learned. So, if you're familiar with Pinewood Derby, you probably spotted the mistake that I made. The bottom of the car should be as flat as possible for aerodynamics. In order to meet the weight requirements, I removed a lot of wood from the underside of the car by basically gouging it out with a hand chisel. This void underneath the car disrupted the airflow and slowed me down. If I were to build the car again, I would remove material from the top of the wood block using a router, then place the windshield canopy on top of that. There is a lot to getting a car dialed in when it comes to the axles, wheels, and weight distribution. I had expected my car to go a few more rounds, and I was actually pretty bummed about how quickly it was eliminated. Like I said, I just wanted to have fun and did not expect to win at all. But I would have liked to do a little better. Despite this, I definitely enjoyed the build process, and I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please click or tap that like button. What do you think of my NASCAR-style Pinewood Derby car? For more DIY projects and videos, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.